Who are you?
Sarah MacLeod, from the clan MacLeod.
A Highlander, you say?
Just like you.
What are you?
A ghost?
No. You're an immortal.
Just like you.
Good. That is a perfect place to start.
Here we are, born to be kings, we're the princes of the universe. Here we belong, fighting to survive in a world with the darkest powers. And here we are, we're the princes of the universe. Here we belong, fighting for survival. We've come to be the rulers of you all.
Sarah, above you the snow and rain mix. The thunder strikes across the Scottish sky. The wound in your side is deep. Somehow you're able to remain upright, trailing your essence, your blood in the snow and the mud behind you. You stumble across a tree. And as you look and spare a second down at your side, you see that the gash has bitten so deep. In the forest dark, you hear cackles. Well, there she is! Figures and shapes run to either side of you. What do you do?
Looking for any way out, if I can just lose them and get some distance.
As you are just a mere mortal, and a wounded one at that, I'd like you to roll a d20 for me, please. You start to move and you slip, the snow and the mud beneath your feet betraying you. The very soul of Scotland indifferent to your plight. There's a crash of lightning, the sound of thunder, and you're illuminated for a moment, and you see the silhouettes of the 4 men coming toward you, their gleeful cackles dripping with promised violence.
I don't have any money. There's nothing I can give you.
That's where you're wrong. And we're going to cut back to moments before in the cabin of Sarah MacLeod and her father Lachlan. And as the storm rages outside, quieter in the comforts of the cottage, your father turns and looks at you with those bright blue vacant eyes of his, the ones that used to be so clear and now only see once in a while. Arabella!
No, Pa, it's me, it's Sarah.
Of course. What day? Where? Is it supper?
It can be. Are you hungry?
Arabella!
Yeah, she goes over and takes his hand. No, it's just me. It'll be all right. I'll get you something to eat. She goes over to start to make him something.
And as you move over, what does this quaint cottage look like? It's nestled in the hills above, far above the village of Glenfinnan, near the shores of Loch Shiel. It is part of MacLeod land, but it is removed. It is far and away from the rest of the civilization. And you live here with your father, Lachlan, surviving by a land grant that was given to a great-grandfather, just enough to feed the two of you and for you to be able to care for your father in his state. But this is your home. What does it look like?
It's warm. That's probably the first thing that would come to your mind if you walked in the front door. It feels like you're being hugged. It's not a very open space. Dim lighting, but she kind of likes it that way. She likes living in that perpetual twilight. And I think that it's heavily inspired by her mother. There's a lot that she did to the cottage that Sarah couldn't change. And it's just very cozy. It feels like a home when you walk in.
Well, good. Then as you proceed through this cozy home and you go over to prepare something for your father, there is a flash as the storm intensifies, rare and odd for this time of year, for the seasonal elements of snow and rain, of lightning and thunder to join together if on this winter's night. But beyond the thunder and the lightning, you hear something else. This is your home, as you've said. It is warm, it is cozy, it's a twilight, but something is making a sound that has never existed in this border realm. You hear a creak, and as you turn, you see the latch on the front door slowly begin to depress.
She immediately knows that something is wrong with a noise. I mean, she knows every noise that this house has ever made. She stops what she's doing, and she's hoping for best case scenario that maybe somebody is lost or injured, but she knows better than to think that they would just come inside without making themselves known. So she's gonna go over to the door quietly and try and basically press back against it, maybe taking a chair on her way to prop to see if she can't jam the door. because there's not a lock they could easily get in.
Roll me a d20, please. So as you do as you say, you creep across the floor of the home that you've kept warm, that is still your mother's. You quietly in your ears grab a chair, your father's vacant eyes not registering what you're doing, just shifting back and forth, perhaps seeing images from this very cottage, but years ago. His mind is taking him anywhere but the present. And as you take the chair over towards the door, it splinters and bursts in. And as the sounds of the storm roar and get louder with the opening of the portal, you see 4 silhouetted figures as the lightning hits, followed by the thunder several beats later. And they begin to move in. And all you can see of their faces below the nose are smiles, yellow, crooked teeth, as they walk casually into your home as if it is theirs. What do you do?
She stumbles backwards, getting in between them and her father, like protectively standing in front of him. What do you want?
For the first time this night, you hear the cackle as one of the crooked smiles leers beneath the hood. We want everything. And suddenly from behind you, you feel your father, a large man in his day, a warrior, before his mind betrayed him. He stands and he grabs you by the shoulder and says, Arabella, my sword! As he begins to advance towards these 4 men. And you know your father does not have a sword.
She reaches out and grabs his wrist and says, come on this way, and starts to like pull him back away from them.
What I'm going to need you to do is roll me a d20. As the first one steps forward, a long, ill-tended blade rushes forward, but your father at the last moment steps, and you see it take him in his stomach as it drives hilt deep, the back of it, his back tenting for a moment as the blade bursts free of his skin and hits your own as it gashes you deep above your hip, cutting through the muscle, through what lies beneath. And your father, wounded terribly, stumbles forward, and for a moment he tackles the 4 by just his sheer body weight as he falls into them, and he simply, for the first time, uses your name. Run, Sarah! Run!
She hesitates for a split second looking back at him, but she kind of understands the reality of the situation. And she turns and runs out the back as best she can.
And as you run, you are back into the woods. You have just slipped in the snow. Your father in the cottage, you're not sure how far behind you. But the silhouettes of these evil men with their broken smiles and their promises foul are creeping forward slowly, knowing that you're going nowhere. That you have only 1 trip left. Before you, as they close into you with a U, you see the ravine that leads down to the shores of Loch Shiel. It is impassable, 100 feet at least from the point in which you stand. And they know it. Come on. Why don't you be a nice lass? Let us have some fun.
Stay back from me. And she's like backing up towards the ravine, or trying to get over to it.
They're all looking.
Just stay back.
Or what? What are you gonna do? And they begin to spread even further, getting within 2 arms' reaches. What are you going to do, little girl?
She glances back over the ravine and doesn't really feel like she has a choice. And she just kind of closes her eyes and thinks about her mother and father and lets herself fall backwards.
Roll me a d20. Just as you are ready to jump, you feel a hand grab your wrist, and that same leader's voice. Oh, you're already so cold. Roll me one more d20. He tears at you, and the sleeve of your shirt rips, but you're able to twist as he almost pushes you, giving you what you wish. And as you fall back, you see the sky riddled with lightning, thunder, and the storm. And then you feel yourself hit. You're lying there. Nothing hurts. But can't move. You can loosely feel the cold rock beneath your back. And I want you to roll a d20 for me. You look up into the sky, and despite the savagery of the storm, the flashing of the lightning, you see an eagle drop through the drops and snow and rain and land on a broken and dead limb coming from the side of the ravine. It looks down at you with knowing eyes. Sideways it looks, silently observing this strange broken human. And as your eyes roll in your head for the last time, you hear, feel, maybe even smell the approach of the moor wolf. Still 2 centuries removed from extinction, it is the apex predator of Scotland, or would be, if it wasn't for people like you. But instead it comes close, sniffs your arm and the blood of you and your father, and it too cocks its head. And as you look around, your eyes close. Breath returns to your lungs. You are drenched now, part of the mud. You don't know how long you've been lying in the storm, but the eagle and the wolf are still there. And as your breath comes back, And as your bones audibly crack back into their original positions with pops and crunches, again the eagle turns its head, eyeing you with wonder, and the moorwolf nods in respect and leaves you alone as it pads away its wet hide, leaving a trail of pride. The eagle jumps into the air, and as you look around with these new eyes, you suddenly remember your father. What do you do?
She has a long way to go to get back. So she'll start heading back.
And now I will give you something new. If you look into Roll20, you will see that there is another character sheet. This one is Sarah MacLeod, Immortal. And so, as you feel this surge of life return to you, you feel the eagle. You feel the wolf. You feel alive. It's not far away at all. How do you get there, Summer?
If she can climb, she'll climb.
Absolutely. So what I would like you to do now that you are immortal, simply roll me a might as you decide to and as the difficulty for this climb was set exactly where you needed to succeed, you begin to scale this faster than you've ever seen anyone scale or you yourself have scaled. And you climb amid the mud and the snow and the ice and the rock. It feels, you get the texture beneath your hands of the smooth stone and the pitted stone, of the eons that have passed and what it has done to this land. And you leap up from the ridge and pull yourself, your clothing still splattered with the blood of a past life. And you see your own trail in the snow, the one that the bandits followed with abandon and ease, but this time it's guiding you home.
She's in an all-out sprint, headed back to the cabin.
As you're running, you can feel the respiration of the eagle, of the moorwolf. Though you have left them behind, they seem to linger. And as you run, you see your cabin above you. And as you break into the area, just before you enter into the cottage proper, you see a silhouette of a fallen form lying in the snow. And you know it to be your father.
She runs over and drops down to his side.
Somehow, the old warrior is still alive.
My body, Sarah.
I'm sorry I left you.
I'm sorry I left you.
And you see his eyes are bright.
You'll be all right.
Inside, you hear revelry. There is the sound of breaking dishes, of laughter.
Pa, you said you had a sword. Do you? Is it here?
It's with the goats.
And off to the side of the cottage, you see the small goat shed that houses the 3 goats. And you notice that there is blood around this as well.
Now you wait here for me. Don't go, okay? Just hold on.
Aye.
And you
She
see
gets up.
him. Yeah.
She gets up to go get the sword.
Roll me an intellect as you look around in this dark. You brush aside some of the straw, and it's with that pressure you feel one of the calling boards loose on the bottom, and it even pitches forward. And as you pull it free, you see a very tarnished and rusted hilt beneath.
She grabs it, pulls it out, and starts marching towards the house.
The claymore is heavy in your hands. It is old. It is a pitted blade, but it is a blade. You pass by your father's position, his eyes staring ahead into the frozen and thunderous night. The door to your home is before you. The party is in full swing.
She comes inside, making no attempt to hide the fact that she's entering the house. Even being loud as she comes inside, knowing that they won't be expecting anyone. And bursts in to the party.
As soon as you burst in, you see the 4 people in here. And as you burst in, one of them is right beside you, currently drinking your father's whiskey that he hasn't touched in a decade at least. And they are just swilling it and spilling it as they drink it. And as you burst in, you see absolute fright across all of their features. The smallest of them begins to bolt for the back door, but the one beside you is frozen. The 2 that are looking at you are also stark with almost spiritual fear, but they seem to be a little more fluid, a little less rigid. For some reason, you know that they're going to act, but the one to your right is yours if you want him.
Absolutely. She hopes that at least maybe she can give the other 2 a reason to pause. And so she'll swing at the one who's frozen beside her.
And here's what we're going to do, Summer. I have given you a cipher for this very moment. The cipher that you have is Rage of the Orphaned. Tell me how you kill the 3 men that are standing up to you.
The one who is frozen, I think it's very quick. She basically just stabs him straight through the side. And when she pulls back and looks at the other 2, she, I think, is a little bit afraid of herself in that moment. Like, she can see herself reflected in their faces. But she is beyond. She's so incredibly upset and confused, and I think that she lets that feeling of rage and upset kind of take over her, and she runs forward at them and swings, arcing wide to catch both of them, probably one across the face and one more into the shoulder, arcing down with all of her strength.
And do these blows, these 2 that come after the one by the door, did they kill them outright? Or are these bandits and murderers made to linger? Is it quick?
I think they're mortal wounds, but I don't think it's instant death. Probably for the first one it is, but for the 2 who were going to act, it's deadly, but not in that moment.
So as they collapse to the boards that your mother tended, that your father built, that you cared for, the home that you have known until this night, as their blood soaks with your father's, with your own, they lie there in a state similar to the one that you had in the ravine, but with no hope of a continuation. And you see the back door swing closed as you hear what sounds like a crash in the back as the fourth has left your cottage.
She turns and goes out the back door, not even looking at the three, because she knows that her father's still outside and she's still worried for him.
As you go out the back, you see that the fourth of these bandits has, in blind panic, run outside and tripped over the grave markings of your mother. And as he is lying much like you did in the mud and the snow and the ice, scrambling like a crab, you see as he looks up, the hood falls back, and you see the face of a boy, 12, maybe 13.
She walks over, just kind of looks down at him. Why did you do it?
You're a ghost. You should be dead.
Tell me why you came.
You can see that he's beyond an answer.
She shakes her head. Keep your laugh. Go on. She turns away from him.
He crab crawls through the mud and disappears into the night.
She goes back over to her father.
His breathing has become very shallow.
Pa, it's gonna be all right now. We're safe.
His bright blue eyes blink and open, blink and open. Bunny Sarah, is that you?
It's me. We're safe now. And you're gonna be all right. I'll take care of you.
You can see those bright eyes that have been so vacant in so long look at you one last time, and they see the wound in your side. You're like him, aren't you?
Like who?
One that lives on our land, up by the Standing Rock. Do you know the place?
Yes, I do.
Seek him out, my wee girl.
I'm not leaving you.
Oh, you'll never leave me, my bonny Sarah. Arabella? You see him look over your shoulder. Oh, Arabella. He stops breathing.
She sits beside him for a very long time. And she's in a state of shock. She's crying, but I don't think she'd realize that she is. And she finally pulls herself up and looks back at the cabin. And she'll just leave it. Last thing he did was tell her to go. And so she will.
Do you want to take anything with you? from this place. You know that your father, the only possessions that you ever remember him having are the sword, the whiskey that he kept, and he saved and did not bury your mother with the gold bracelet, the gold, like, article of jewelry that he had for her. But that was really all that's worth value in your home.
I think that's what she would take. She'd probably leave the whiskey. But she would take something of his and something of her mother's, and the sword.
The sword you can find. You can find anything that you want of your father's that you think that would be kept. He had no rings, or he was a man of simple means. The sword itself is probably his dearest possession. But as for your mom's bracelet, it is not there.
She's immediately thinking about the boy she let get away. But she'll search the other three to see if maybe one of them has it.
They have some coin on them, but none of them have the bracelet.
She'll look around for a minute more, but she thinks she knows where it is, and so she gives that up and leaves.
And is she heeding her father's words and traveling to... So as you leave behind your family home, it takes some time to get there, and the storm removes itself from the equation as it begins to peel off first the thunder and the lightning, and then it simply gets colder and returns to the traditional snow of this time of year. You are able to make your way higher into the mountains, and it's nearing morning, maybe an hour or two removed, and you see, not unlike Stonehenge, a large circle of stacked stones, some of them pillared in an arch, and in the middle of it is a cabin.
Has her father ever talked about this place before?
Never. Other than that's where they get their money to live, and that was before he lost his mind.
She walks forward to the cabin and hesitates at the door before knocking loudly.
The door opens an inch or two, and you see just the silhouette of a long-haired, bearded face. Who are you?
Sarah MacLeod?
A Highlander, you say?
Yes, I am.
You can see the silhouette look at your side.
What are you?
A ghost.
No. You're an immortal.
Are you?
Good. That is the perfect place to start.
And the door opens, and you see the man on a crutch back towards the center of this small Spartan cabin.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
He turns back around, and you see a great beard, maybe down to almost his waist, and hair long past his waist in the back. And as he turns, you realize that his right arm is severed at the bicep, and by the way that he is using the crutch, it seems that at least a portion of his left foot is also missing.
I am Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. Have a seat.
She hesitates for a very long moment before she comes inside and sits down, a little bit rigid.
As soon as, and perhaps you believed it to be nerves before, but now it's leaving, and so its absence is more recognized. There was a buzzing that you felt as you came into proximity with this Connor MacLeod, almost a butterfly sensation in the stomach, coupled with excitement, coupled with the electricity of the storm. But now it's beginning to fade as he moves over and sits down at one of the chairs at the table and indicates that you could take the other.
Yeah, she does. And her eyes are like locked on him. My father told me to find you.
What happened?
Some men came. I don't know why. And they chased me down to the ravine, and I fell. I should be dead.
He leans forward, his eyes bright.
But what of them? Are they dead?
3 of the 4. I let the young one go.
Why?
I don't think he knew what he was doing. But he'll remember.
We'll see.
And as he stands up, he indicates it's awful. It's an awful bed, but he indicates it to you.
There. Get warm. We can still freeze, but...
And he goes over and kind of throws himself in a pile of furs and blankets by the dying fire, and he kicks a couple logs into place.
We will start in the morning.
Start what?
Start with the rules. It's where you always start.
She gets up and walks over to the bed and sits down. She doesn't lay down. I just don't... I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Who does understand? It's the night that you've died. Take a rest. I will tell you more about it in the morning.
I don't know if I can sleep.
Trust me, you'll sleep.
She lays down and closes her eyes, but she's not convinced.
Roll me an intellect. Within moments, Sarah MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod slips into slumber. Connor turns and watches you fall asleep, looks back into the fire, smiles.
Here we go.
And so the next day, as you wake up, you have Connor MacLeod dressed in furs and half slings of clothing, things easy for a one-armed man to be able to put on. And as he sees you wake up, you notice that he's pulled forth pants and thick and heavy shirts to weather the Scottish nights.
Put something on. Got to get started. We're already late.
Yeah, she shakes off the sleep and will change into whatever looks like it's gonna fit the best.
Yeah, you can put on anything that you'd like, but I'd like you to tell me if all of the clothing options are arrayed for Sarah MacLeod, and she can pick whatever she would like. What does she pick?
She's seen how her father dressed when she was younger, when he was out like working. And I think she tries to match that outfit pretty carefully. There's like some sturdy work pants. She has her boots still, and then goes with a thicker, warmer, probably light in color shirt. One that she could forego a jacket if she needed to, but it can be layered up, no problem if it gets colder. Pretty practical. It's not that cute, but I don't think she's worried about that right now.
When you approach, dressed as you've described, Connor sees you and nods. And though you can't discern much through the massive beard and hair, you think you get a hint of approval at your choice. And he takes you outside into the forest and the hills on his MacLeod land. And as he walks outside, you can see now in the daybreak the full splendor of these stacked druidic stones that are around his cabin. And as he looks around, he just simply says,
Holy land. You're only safe on holy ground. None of us will disrespect that rule. But you cannot kill mortal, immortal, or otherwise on holy ground. Do you understand?
Yes, but why would I want to kill anyone?
Right. Why? Come on.
And he starts crutching his way into the woods.
She'll follow after him. She's like, that's not an answer, but okay. Follows after him.
As you get to a certain area, a certain point, you see that there are fallen trees everywhere. The severed stumps of storms and the sheared force of axe in just a small area. There's maybe 6 of these stumps at various heights. And he turns to you, and you see him produce a knife as he buries it in his side. And then pulls it back out. And you see him lift his shirt, and the wound begins to mend and close after a short period of time.
Now, you have a life untold and undreamed that will go on and on. You can fall. You can be stabbed. You can be run over by a horse. You can drown. But you'll come back. But your head leaves your body. It's over. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Good. Now, Stand up over there. And he points to the lowest of the stumps. Get there. Jump there. And he points to the next one. And there to the higher one. And there to the higher one. And there to the next highest one. And then he points back to the first one. And land there. Go.
I don't know if that's possible.
Time to find out.
All right. And she'll go to the first one and start to make her way as he directed.
And I would like to thank Drake for the contribution. It's a kind of magic for summer, so we will be able to get into that one and see exactly what's going on whenever we get into the ability section of our Highlander here. So thank you very much. That makes our Highlander quite powerful. And so as you are doing this, I would like you to roll either a might or a speed as you attempt to do what you're doing.
Okay.
You make the first one. Good. See, you can do it. Now keep going.
She keeps going.
Okay, and we won't see how this one progresses, but this is the first part. And so we are going to cut now to the ocean shore. And we see Sarah, and she has a very heavy hempen blindfold tied around her. And the waves from a storm are battering against her as he is yelling out, "Pain and discomfort! That's when you were alive! Ignore it!" You're freezing out there, and you keep getting knocked below the water as each of these smashing blows take you. And as they drive you down into the sand and stand up, every time you come back up over the surface, you hear a sigh of disappointment from Connor. Feel them coming. I need you to roll me an intellect. Again, the waves batter you. And finally, you get battered so hard by a crash that you did not see coming in a swell that you are driven up into the rock, loose dirt, and sand at Connor's feet. You feel the blindfold get torn off of your head. And he stares down with this long, spittle and rain-slicked beard. You've got to be able to go beyond this and go through this. Your enemies will not be so forgiving. Come on.
Well, I won't be blindfolded when my enemies come. And she gets up.
He looks down and crutches away. And as you're walking down the beach, he says to you, there will come a time when all of us that remain will feel a pull to a far-off place, a foreign land. Those of us that remain will battle for the prize. They call this the gathering. Do you understand?
Yes. What is the prize?
Who knows what the prize is? It will be all of us. When you take another immortal's head, you get their power. The last one will have all of our power.
Would you kill me at the end?
Do I look like I could kill you? And he holds up his stump of his right arm. If I could, this is a waste. He starts to crutch away.
She follows after him.
As you get back to the cottage, you see that there is one of the stones is large and it's tilted, almost as if it, with a good
with a good push in one way, would probably fall on Connor's house. When you walk by, he looks at the opposite side and says, "Push that the other way. I don't want that falling on my house."
All right, I'll try. She goes over to push it.
Roll me a might. As you're pushing into it for a moment, you can feel a bit of the eagle as it flies above. You think you feel it move? You're not sure. But you work on it for a good 20, 30 minutes. It's not going anywhere. But Connor's house remains.
She leaves it and goes back inside.
As you go inside, you see on the table where you sat 2 swords. Connor is over by the fire. He indicates the 2 blades. If you're going to fight, you need to have a proper weapon. Your father's blade is true, but it has grown beyond usefulness.
Well, couldn't
Choose
we
one.
repair it?
No.
She'll go over and look at the 2 blades. Is there much difference in them?
Night and day. One of them is a long, dark tinted and leathered bastard sword. It seems to have a retractable sword catcher along the hilt that's bladed and seems to pull high and low against the crossbar. And beside that is a slight curved blade. It's in its scabbard, but you can even see a hint of the gleaming blade beneath, and its handle is exquisite. It looks as if it's pearl or ivory, or it's white.
Where did you get these?
One from a friend, one from an enemy.
Are either of them lucky?
You make your own luck.
She reaches down and takes the light one, picking it up to look at it.
He doesn't look over his shoulder.
Is that your choice?
I think so.
Good. That's the lucky one.
She smiles and takes it.
As he looks back, you see that through the beard, there is a bit of a smile as he looks at the sword and its new owner. And so as 6 years have passed in the Highlands of Scotland, and as Connor MacLeod has trained Sarah MacLeod in the use of her sword, we will cut one last time to the stumps. Stumps that are now worn and smooth, with footsteps uncounted. I would like you to roll me a speed roll as you, with sword in hand, leap from stump to stump. You stumble a bit and you feel a rock smack into your shoulder.
What are you doing? Try again.
I'm sorry I'm a bit distracted today.
Why?
I don't know. I just do this 100 times over.
You'll do it 101.
Yeah, she'll try and focus in and keep going.
Okay. So as you get through that, we cut back down to the surf. And this time, in the blindfolded state that you've been in for so many years, you now hear the further direction that Connor has given you.
Reach forward. Feel the waves in the ocean. As you did with the eagle and the wolf. It lives. It will warn you when it's coming.
And roll me an intellect. So again, as the water smashes into your back, and this particular element of your training is causing Sarah problems, your GM makes note of it, because as I told you, this is the BioWare create your character session, and it seems that this particular problem is just that for Sarah. And so, as we go back to the cabin and the cottage, we see that the standing stone has been placed upright. Sometime during the past 6 years, Sarah has managed to somehow slowly move this giant stone back into place. There are shims of other stones that are placed against the side where any progress that was made was then kind of wedged to keep it from moving back, and it is now straight and upright. Connor goes back inside, as is his routine in the afternoon. You have time to yourself, Sarah. It has been 6 years in the Highlands. What has Sarah become?
She's strong and patient. I think that's probably her defining feature at this point. She rarely complains about the daily training that she's put through, even when she fails over and over and over again. She spends a lot of time to herself, just thinking about, what was and what might have been if things had gone differently for her that day. She's very strong-willed too, and I think that that's kind of what's gotten her through the past 6 years. Is even though she's failing, she believes that she's failing for a reason, and she wants to be better than she is. She's never satisfied with her progress, because it's kind of all she has.
Okay. And so you spend the afternoon maybe in contemplation as you kind of walk around these grounds that you have become accustomed to. And as you are walking around, you feel that strange feeling in your stomach, that butterfly and electricity. But Connor is nowhere to be seen.
She goes immediately back to the cabin when she feels that. Connor?
As soon as you turn around and begin to walk back towards the cabin, you're maybe still 100 yards off, and you see a man swing out from behind one of the trees. He's dressed in a red leather vest. He seems to have a dark brown or black hood that he has pulled down, the cape still damp with a rain that had touched to the south. He's got very fine boots on. Doesn't look like someone that does a lot of labor. Well, hello. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
He sees your sword. Oh, I didn't come here for any of that. I just wanted to see the famous Connor MacLeod's new student.
Well, I guess that'd be me.
I guess it would. My name's Merrill. What's yours?
Sarah?
Sarah. Enchanted.
I feel bad you coming all this way.
Why is that? I had the ability to see you. And that is worth a trip across the world entire.
Oh, I don't know about that.
So how did you earn such a prestigious title as student to the great Connor MacLeod?
Proximity, I think.
Ha ha ha. Delightful.
Would you like to see him?
No, we leave him alone because of what he did, and, he's helped us out quite a bit, so he can stay there on his little plot of holy ground, and we won't hurt him, and I'm not here to... These aren't veiled threats. I'm simply here to check in on him and make sure that there's not somebody... a new one of us that maybe didn't know the rules concerning Connor. I wanted to make sure that, you were of right mind, that the hero Connor MacLeod was doing well. And I saw him when you came in, and it seems he's as well as can be.
So you'll be going then?
I will, absolutely. Until next we meet. May it be hundreds of years from now. And he touches his forehead and begins to walk off.
She watches him very carefully. Does not turn her back to him. It made her very uneasy. But she'll start moving back towards the cabin.
At one point, whether it's just kind of the bend of the hills, you lose sight of Merrill, but you see flashes of that red vest, down further into the forest until he's several hundred yards away, and you're comfortable in the fact that he seems to be leaving. As you've been gone for some time and you re-enter the holy ground of the stacked stone, the Stonehenge-like area. And you open the door to the cabin and you see Connor sitting at the table. There's a bottle of whiskey nearly empty in front of him.
Someone came to see us.
Someone always comes. Pay respects to great Connor MacLeod. That's me.
Said his name was Merrill. Do you know him?
Yes, he's a Londoner. Don't worry about him. I don't think.
Are you all right?
Sit down. Please.
She sits down. Her face is concerned.
The others will underestimate you. Especially the men are fools. But never let your guard down. Whether it's a wave or men are craven. He takes a swig from the bottle. Be ready to fight, but remember to live. Not like me. You are not a fool or a coward. He reaches forward and reaches for your hand with his only hand.
Yeah, she extends her hand and takes his.
Did I ever tell you about my wife?
No.
Her name was Heather. They underestimated her too. I never believed I could see anyone as my child, but I am a fool.
And he looks across the table at you.
You can win the prize, my bonny Sarah. I know it in my soul. Do you know why they call me the Great Connor MacLeod?
No.
They believe that I defeated a man named the Kurgan. But it wasn't me. He had killed,
And he looks at your sword.
my friend, Ramirez. It's his sword. He had come when I was away and he had killed my friend. But I came back and we fought. I took my sword and I ran it through his heart, and he took his,
And he indicates the dark sword that's now in the corner.
he did this
And he holds up the stump of his right arm
and this.
and his shattered left foot.
He was starting to heal. I would not. But he was still hurt. And that's when my Heather took his head from his neck with that sword.
And again, he points and looks at the one in your possession.
The Kurgan's power, having nowhere to go, flooded into me. So they believe I am the Great Connor MacLeod. That I am a hero. It was Heather. They never even thought it could be her. You see, there are rules. When you fight one of us, you must be one against one. If they knew that it took 3, they would come for me. You cannot break that rule. The rule of the duel. 1 versus 1. But they will come for you, Sarah. They will come for you, Sarah. I found the boy that killed your father.
And?
He owns a tavern in the south called the Golden Ring. Apparently he bought it with a
I know.
bracelet. You need to decide what to do about him and about me.
What about you?
Merrill came because he thought that maybe you were manipulating me, that maybe you had come here under the guise of being a student, only to drag me off holy ground and take my head. Take the Kurgan's power. Luckily, you have not killed me yet. But someone will. Someone that doesn't follow the rules. Someone that wants what's in me. I don't want anyone else to have what's in me. Except you. You can win, Sarah. You can win.
But I don't want to kill you.
I don't want to die. But I don't want them to use me against you.
We could wait. We could wait till the end. Doesn't have to be now.
They'll come before the end. I doubt that the faraway land that Ramirez told me of is the Highlands.
But you're safe here. They can't hurt you here.
At some point, someone without your heart, or someone that doesn't follow the rules, will pay some bandits to drag me off of holy ground. And they'll take my head. And I, and he holds up the stump, won't be able to stop them.
But you're all I have, Connor.
I know. There are others. I've never... My friend Ramirez, you have his sword. He met others that he told me about. A Roman, a Celt, twins. If they live, show them the sword and they will know. Tell them that you are Connor MacLeod's only student. And that makes you a student of Ramirez as well. If they have honor, they will help you. If they do not, leave them where you find them. I am broken, Sarah. But I can be taken and used. I would like it to be by you.
Well, if that's what you want. Am I ready to be alone?
Yes. But you have to decide. When you leave here, that boy that has the tavern, that bought it with your mother's blood and with your father's blood, you must leave the Highlands, Sarah. All of it. Kill him, or let him live. It can haunt you no further.
All right. Okay.
Then, take a walk with me.
She nods and stands up.
You leave the home, and he doesn't even close the door behind him. He indicates the sword of the Kurgan.
That is the only thing of value here.
I don't want it.
He smiles.
Good.
And as he leaves, he pulls over the oil lamp, and it splashes against the wood on the floor as it lights.
Let it meet him in hell.
And he starts to walk off down the hill a bit.
She follows after very slowly, turning to look back at the place that's been her home for 6 years.
It doesn't burst into flame, but you can see smoke begin to kind of column and creep out from the door frame and the window. And it catches, and the stones that surround it and protect it just watch. Like you.
She turns away from it and follows Connor down the hill.
Takes you about 2 hours with the speed in which Connor walks. But you get to an opening in the valley, and you see the shattered remains of a tower. You've seen it before, but Connor's never paid it much mind. He gets closer to it, and you see that he's walking up a hill towards what looks like a grave. And there is an ancient, weathered claymore driven into the grave, saying MacLeod. He gets close, and you see that he touches the dirt, struggles back up, comes back down the hill, and then he turns and looks back up towards the grave of his wife.
I think we are far enough away. We are no longer on holy ground. But put me beside her. Please.
I will.
He takes his crutch and lets it fall to the Scottish earth.
You will win, Sarah MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. And somehow, I'll be there to see it.
And he hops, puts his back to you, and looks up towards the grave.
Not long. Not long either.
I'll never forget you, Connor.
Nor I you.
And she takes out her sword. And I think there's a moment where she doesn't know if she can do it. But she does.
And just as you swing the sword, and Connor MacLeod leaves, the skies above erupt into lightning and thunder. The lightning lances through the sky. It touches you, it touches the sword, it touches the ground, it touches Connor. It pulls back your body and convulses every muscle in your frame, being, and soul. But it's not painful. And you hear in your mind, "Thank you." And somewhere, several miles to the south, an immortal named Merrill notes the change in the sky. Son of a bitch. And now I will ask you, as the quickening leaves Sarah's body, one last thing remains. The boy, the man that owns the tavern called the Golden Ring. What becomes of him?
She lets him live. I think she goes and she watches. She stays in the shadows and out of sight. But she just wanted to see what he made of his life with her family's blood and money.
As you watch from the alleys in this small town, it's just really nothing more than a thatched roof and stacked stone, but it seems busy. There is a warmth to this golden ring that's indicated by a very loosely and generously depicted golden ring on a placard and weathered slate outside of the building. But you also see the boy, now a man of early 20s, not old. You see him hefting children and talking to a woman, presumably his wife. He seems happy, and people seem to talk to him with a measured amount of respect. He works hard. You don't see anything of the boy that helped to murder your father, helped to murder you. And as you're looking, and as you leave this scene, you feel that presence again of the golden eagle flying above and the moor wolf. And you see them both, the eagle above, but the wolf is far back, as if it's not following, it's staying in the highlands. Its scent of you changed. You watch as it turns and pads back to the north. But the eagle, the angel of Scotland, it follows you in your travels. And oh, what travels you shall have, Sarah MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. And that's where we'll end our first session of Highlander If on a Winter's Night. Awesome! Alrighty. So, to recap, what we did here was create a character in Cypher using choices similar to what you would do in an RPG. The choices, of course, indicated which sword she picked. Thank you very much, Red Tornado. Which sword she picked. Did Connor live or not? What happened to the boy? Did she spare the boy at the murder site? All of these will go into the foci and the abilities that Summer will have available to her as Sarah MacLeod. So we will pick up Sarah's story in 2 weeks, as next week we will see the flip side of the coin. As we have met Sarah MacLeod, we will meet the Mad Eagle. Onye will join us, and we will see our de facto villain for this series and how he came to be what he is. But before we do all of that, I need to talk to my Highlander. Summer, how are you?
Emotional, really good. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. This was just perfect first session. I cannot wait to see what happens from here. It's going to be a wild ride, and I'm so excited for the weeks to come.
Absolutely. And my friend, where can we find you online? The links are in the chat, but I always like to hear the players themselves say it. Sell us, Summer.
Don't follow me, it's trash. No, you can follow me on Twitter at Just a Summer Job, where I yell about things that I am passionate about, like games. And I have a channel here on Twitch, off_the_table. We play a shit ton of different games, so check us out. It's the same Twitter, off_the_table. I retweet everything that I'm doing. But yeah, those are the two main places you can find me if you're interested in seeing me in some other games.
And you should be interested. And I will go a step further, and I will sell Summer as well. I always say this: I am blessed to have players on the channel, people I play with, and people that once again bless me by playing in my games. I am super lucky to have kind people, and kindness is so nice, so appreciated, and so needed right now. Summer is one of the kindest. So links are in chat. Please follow her. Give yourself some kindness, because I'm going to tell you what, every so once in a while, you want to be sitting at your desk. This is completely hypothetical and never, of course, happened to me. You want to be sitting at your desk ready to absolutely punch the next person that walks in. You want to just knuckle sandwich anybody, and then you read something so great about denied smooches, and it makes you feel and ground you and says, oh, that's right, my friends gave me a smile. I'm not going to punch anybody today. Thank you, Summer and the denied smooches. That is exactly what everyone needs. You need a vacation every once in a while. It'll make your life better, and save it with kindness. But like I said, we have all of our fantastic immortals that are coming up. Everybody will have their own episode. Sarah will be involved in every episode that you see coming forward, from Alice, who plays the Celt, from Pruitt, who plays the Roman, from Bird and Tall Squall, who play the twins, and of course Trendane, who plays the Mad Eagle. You will see everybody and their interactions with Sarah through time, and as we get closer towards the time of the gathering, we'll be able to see who makes it. If you have favorites, help them out. If you don't, let them roast, because we're going to see exactly who can make it from their moment of origin, the moment they meet Sarah. Can they make the gathering? And I'll tell you this, not all will. But we'll see what happens through the course of the collaborative narrative. Everyone's going to be telling their own story, so I'm going to be just as surprised as you are when we get through each week. But next week is the Mad Eagle. Let's find out exactly what made him mad, as I have already read the backstory that Trendane came up with, and we don't need Kurgan at all. So I can't wait to see what we have. But Summer, unless you have anything less to say, I'll just be wordy and sit here and talk. Everybody in chat, you're fantastic. I love you. Thank you so much for the donations. You have seriously aided Summer, and she is going to have a very powerful Highlander immortal that the next time we see Sarah MacLeod, she's going to be substantially more powerful than she's been in this episode, because of both your donations and the choices that she made. And so we will see how that goes, and next week we'll have the Mad Eagle. But we have nothing else to say. There's really only one thing left as the fire dies down, and we don't have anything left to say. You can't always roll nat 20s, but you can always role play. We'll see you next week, friends.